Okay, so
I want to talk about some of the unique experiences in my life. My father passed away on April 21st, 2001. June 29th, 2003, I was on my way to a bank. There was a problem in my checking account. I was entering the bank, and a small in stature beggar said to me, "Can you loan me $5 for a hamburger and fries?" as I walked in the door. And I thought that was an odd statement, and I had remembered that my father would ask me every Friday to go get him a hamburger and fries, and he would give me $5. And I turned to look at the beggar, and I saw that his eyes were pinned wide open. And I remembered that my dad, when he came out of an operation, when he was getting ready to die, had his eyes pinned wide open due to a stroke during the operation. And I wondered what was happening here. So I reached in my pocket and gave the old beggar $5. And I said, "Will you be all right?" And he said, "Yes, I will, son." And I turned and I said, "I need to take care of this bank thing." I stepped into the bank and I said, "No, that's not important to me." I turned around to talk to the old beggar again, and he had vanished. And I couldn't understand how could he leave the area that fast. I went into the bank and took care of everything. 1 year later, I'm traveling to the beach. To a beach that I'd gone to. This was my second summer. I got to the parking lot of the beach. It's called El Matador Beach, and it's a parking lot's made of dirt. It's up on a cliff that overlooks the beach. I got there too early. I looked over the cliff, and there was water. The tide was covering the place where I usually would sit. I would put my chair in the same place in front of a cave where the beachcomber, John, would call me the Indian by the cave, because I am a Native American. I had black hair and very dark skin. And I would always put my chair in exactly the same spot at the mouth of this cave. The parking lot was empty. The water was in. I saw trash everywhere. I spent the next hour and a half picking up the trash. I filled 4 bags that I had in my car. They were construction bags, and I filled them with trash and put them in the trash cans. And after an hour and a half, I looked over the cliff, and now the tide had receded, and my spot was now drying. So I got my stuff, and I headed down to the beach, walked down the 2 sets of steps, walked 200 yards to the spot where I would always put my chair. And as I got close to that spot, I looked up in the sky, remembering all that trash that I'd picked up, and I said, "God, we're destroying the planet you gave us. Can't you please help?" When I turned to put my chair down, I realized that the word believe was spelled out in rocks. 7 feet long, 2 feet tall, the letters were in exactly the spot where I always put my chair. After that happened, I sat and wondered, what happened here? Who could have put those rocks there if the tide just went out and there was nobody on the beach? A few years later, I was traveling westbound on Burbank Boulevard. I was heading for a training appointment with a trainer at Gold's Gym in North Hollywood on Laurel Canyon. I looked up to the sky, and at the edge of a cloud, I saw 2 gray structures hovering in the sky, side by side. And I pulled my Corvette over, and I looked, and I said, "My God, they're flying saucers." They were just sitting there. After a couple minutes, I saw a third, smaller vessel, fluttering up to the other 2, went in behind one of them, and they vanished. They left so quickly. So I traveled back over to Gold's Gym, where my trainer was standing in the driveway, in the parking lot, and I told him what I had seen, and we looked up, and there were no less than 16 jets doing a grid pattern in the sky. And my trainer turned to me and said, "Wow, you did see something." And for the first time, I realized they're out there. And about 1 year later, I'm sitting in my 2-bedroom townhouse apartment in Burbank. I decide to go upstairs. I go up the stairs that were kind of dimly lit. I turn into the hallway heading towards the 2 bedrooms. First one would be my spare bedroom. Second one would be the bedroom that I slept in. In the doorway of the spare bedroom, out-peeked the head and the upper shoulders of an extraterrestrial creature with a large gray head and very large black eyes.
How did you feel at the time when
I was startled by that. I looked and I saw his skinny fingers wrapped around the casing of the door. And I looked very quickly and saw these narrow shoulders and a very skinny neck. He popped his head out, he looked at me, and then popped his head back in. Of course, I was as frightened as I could be. I went into the next doorway and sat on my bed, and I talked to him. I tried to get him to come out and talk to me, and after about 10 minutes I finally got the courage to go in the room and see if he was in there, and he wasn't. And this will always be a remembrance of mine that I'm not sure anybody will ever believe, but it happened to me. And with these 4 experiences, I have to wonder why did these things happen to me? And that's what I think today.